Center, you can see where a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather extends from near Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas to Shreveport and Jackson. And already we're seeing some storms developing back in here, and you can kind of see the path laid out, how this will all transition over the next 24 hours through tonight. This thing is going to cover quite a bit of real estate over the next 12 to 24 hours, moving from central Texas overnight through Mississippi. And by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, as early as 4 or 5 in the morning, actually, we could have some heavy rain and storms starting to impact our areas here across West Alabama. So that's a look at today's outlook. As we look at the outlook for tomorrow, you can see that risk does include mostly the southern third of Alabama, that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk. Further north you go, the risk is more isolated. But bottom line here, there's going to be some heavy rain, some loud rumbles of thunder as this all impacts the state. Temperature-wise, we're dealing with some nice conditions right now. Temperatures have made a big recovery. We made it into the 80s in a few spots out there today. Certainly feeling like April, but here's that system coming together. There's a severe thunderstorm watch back in here. You can see across Texas, and quite a bit of lightning, some heavy rain, seen some reports of some large hail in those areas, and you can see how this all rapidly develops overnight and into the morning. There's 7 o'clock, getting those storms developing and lifting in. A lot of the storm development out ahead of this is what we call elevated. In other words, they're high base storms. The instability is in the upper reaches of the atmosphere. We don't see that surface-based kind of instability, and typically with something like this, you get some gusty winds, you can have some big hail producers, and that will be one of the risks with any of these storms, locally heavy rainfall that may try to develop out ahead of this. But further south, the winds turn around the south direction. We're going to see a very rapid influx of unstable air that tries to build out ahead of this main complex of rain and storms, and that's what we got to watch closely, because in this area, that's where it gets increasingly soupy. You know how it feels sometimes on those severe weather days, that instability. The question, how far north does it make it, because this rain to the north may help to kind of keep this limited further south. That's in general why we're favoring more of a southern risk zone for that possibility of severe weather. But we'll have to watch it. Be weather alert starting around 5 in the morning through about 11 o'clock in the morning, and really need to watch this area. You get into places like Clanton. If I had to kind of pinpoint parts of our area where I think the greatest severe weather risk is going to be tomorrow, I'd say we need to watch it around Chilton County, southern Bibb County, anywhere pretty much south of Melville to Centerville, south of Aliceville. Utah would be one of those places. Demopolis we'll need to watch, and then south of Childersburg, also Clay County and Point South. We'll need to watch it there. But the further north you go, it's more of a limited risk, and you can see by 2 o'clock the heavy rain moves on by. We still got some wind energy with this. It's going to be gusty winds out there, but the morning round of storms that may kind of take a little bit of the spark out of the atmosphere, and that may help to limit what we see later in the day. So for the afternoon, wouldn't surprise me if we had a storm that popped up or a shower, maybe even something that might try to rotate. But overall, the risk looks much more limited later in the day. We kind of get into a lull in the activity, especially as the temperatures fall tomorrow night. But here's the thing, the wind's still out of the south. We warm up again on Wednesday before a strong cold front moves in, so that's going to bring another risk for severe weather that we'll need to watch out for. So looking at this setup tomorrow, first round, stormy tomorrow morning, timing 5 in the morning until 11 o'clock. Possible severe storms, greatest risk south of I-20. Heavy rain, and be ready for some loud rumbles of thunder there early in the day. Make sure you check that First Alert weather app. As we look at the lightning forecast, you'll see the lightning frequency really ramps up. There's 4 to 9 o'clock, and you can see some intense lightning even around the Birmingham area. Heavy rain, loud rumbles, Hoover, and pushing over towards Gadsden by 9-10 o'clock in the morning. And you see where those storms set up there to the south by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Really have to watch this area to the south for that risk of severe storms in the afternoon. There could be some development that happens later in the day. I think around here that morning round is going to have an impact. This is where we see the greatest combination of wind shear and instability. The more favorable parameters for severe weather based on the high resolution data. There's 7 in the morning, and you can see as this moves along, we'll stop it right there at 10 a.m. Again, mainly south of I-20, and especially you get into places like Wilcox County. If you're watching watching me here around Montgomery, Prattville, and these areas over towards Alexander City, make sure you're paying close attention to the weather tomorrow morning. That risk is certainly more elevated the further south you go. And then this all comes back on Wednesday. And the one thing we'll need to watch out for on Wednesday, we could see some big hail producers. That's a look at tomorrow. You're looking at the hail size forecast. Looks greatest where we see that chance for some supercells or some larger storms to the south. But watch what happens here on Wednesday. I've seen this set up many times when we start to get that redevelopment here, especially across East Alabama. We'll need to pay close attention to what happens with some of those storms later in the day. The winds are going to pick up tomorrow. I know last week we had the gusty winds, we had the severe weather, we had a lot of power outages around the area. You know, one thing that comes in handy anytime we have a power outage, got to have a flashlight nearby. And Fred Hunter has an update on some flashlights being made locally and some good tips for that severe weather safety kit.
Well, here we are, our primary severe weather season, hurricane season, just around the corner. And what's one of the certainties about that? Eventually, you're going to lose power at your house. When that happens, you're going to need a flashlight. Here's the man from Enterprise, Alabama, Gene Malkoff. Gene makes these great Malkoff flashlights. Gene, why is a flashlight so important?
When the power goes out, you need light.
And talk about what makes a good light. Now, this is your personal flashlight.
This is the personal. I've been carrying this flashlight for almost 5 years. It's virtually unbreakable. It's got 3 levels, and you can lock it in on whatever level you need. On that low level, which in the dark is actually pretty bright, it will run for over 24 hours at that low level, and that's what you need when the power is becoming iffy.
And I mentioned that you're in Enterprise, so you deal with not only tornado season, but hurricane season as well. And you can't be in Enterprise without being reminded of that terrible day when the tornadoes hit Enterprise and hit Enterprise High School. You saw that firsthand. What were you doing?
Back at that point, I worked for the state, I worked for the health department, and I was the emergency preparedness guy for this area, for the 7 counties in southeast Alabama. And that was a tough day.
But you got to have a flashlight.
You need a flashlight. And back then, I didn't have this one, I can promise you that.
You know the old saying about mouse traps, well, Gene built a better flashlight. So if you need a flashlight, and you do, make it a Malkoff. It's absolutely Alabama.
This time of the year, never hurts to have multiple flashlights and fresh batteries in that emergency readiness kit. But hopefully tomorrow the wind's not quite as bad, at least widespread, as that past event. But we need to be ready in the morning as those storms impact the area. Let's show you what's on the way right here. First Alert Weather Extra. We're just getting started. We're going to check in on that national weather outlook. We're showing you a story on the wildfire that's threatening Texas. It's crazy with all the rain. We've had so many wildfires also. And it looks like we're going to be dealing with some heavy rain at the bus stop as we check in with Mickey later in the show. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra. The next big thing gives you a heads up days ahead of the next big storm system. The next 24 gives you the most accurate and updated look at tomorrow. And the next 60 gives you a 60-minute advantage against Mother Nature. Knowing what's next, days, hours, or minutes away, this is why we First Alert.
When we declare First Alert Weather Day, it's all hands on deck. We're on your side and in your hand with the First Alert Weather app. While Wes and the rest of the team track changes moment to moment, the app keeps you prepared and safe with video and alerts for your neighborhood. And if the power goes out, no worries. You can stream us anywhere. It's easy and it's always on. Stay ahead of Alabama weather. Just scan and tap and have the First Alert Weather app. This is why we First Alert.
On Good Day Alabama, we treat severe weather with the highest priority. It's more than just meteorologists. Everyone plays a part. Having more reporters in more places takes you beyond the First Alert, showing you the impact that we see on radar. We're live in your neighborhood when you need us. On air, online, and on the app. That's the advantage of having the most reporters on your side. That's the advantage of Good Day Alabama.
Our lives revolve around planning for what's next, like the next ball game.
One hot dog with ketchup? It's the same with weather. That's why we're on your side with the next big thing, the next 60 in the next 24. Knowing what's next, days, hours, or minutes away.
This is why we first alert. Who puts ketchup on a hot dog?
Getting live breaking news and local updates has never been easier. That's because we're on your side with the WBRC streaming app. Need updates between newscasts? You can catch up quick here. And when we're live on TV, we're live here too. Just search WBRC on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV. WBRC Fox 6 News is on your side.
Well, this system moving in tomorrow morning is going to have some far-reaching impacts, as noted earlier in the show. Already seeing some stormy weather developing around places like Dallas, back into Texas. Let's check in with meteorologist Matt Daniel for an update on what's happening around the nation.
All right, we've had some really quiet, nice weather today, but that changes going into tomorrow. So I want to show you the travel delays that are possible tomorrow morning. And you can see if you're in the yellows, especially reds and purples, we're expecting some major issues. And you can see a lot of that's in the southeast, a lot of stormy, wet weather moving on through. We've been telling you about that for the past several days. So could see some major problems in parts of the Atlanta area for travel. Could see some minor delays as well as you go towards Kentucky into parts of the D.C. area. Also a little bit of little minor issues as well in around Minneapolis, but Chicago's looking good, New York City and Boston looking okay, and the Dallas area looking good as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the overall setup as we go into tomorrow. We have a system in the southeast, but also a little disturbance moving in from Canada and making its way through the plains. So as we go to tomorrow morning, there could be some snow in parts of the mountains in the Rockies. And then as it makes its way towards the east, we could see some rainy weather in around Minneapolis, down towards Kansas City and Wichita. But just looking at some shower activity in that area. Of course, going into tomorrow, we're also going to be monitoring the fire danger. Of course, out west, it's really dry. I haven't seen much rain, and when you get low humidities and breezy conditions, that can really ramp up the fire threat. So you can see on the scale, it's in that critical range in parts of the Dakotas, down towards Nebraska, into Kansas, and even as you go into western parts of Texas. So could see some fire danger there into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. The southeast also very active. I know Wes and Jill all talking about that. And of course, as we look at the future radar tomorrow, there's the active weather in around Minneapolis, the wet weather in around the southeast, with the bulk of this in the morning and afternoon hours, but pretty dry across Texas. And as you go into the west coast and parts of California, high temperatures tomorrow. Look how hot it's going to be in Austin, Texas tomorrow. They could be in the mid 90s. We're looking at mid 80s in Dallas, 70s across the southeast, and all that cool air is bundled up towards the north and west, but eventually we're going to see that cool air filter in across the eastern half of the country as we go into the second half of this week. Tomorrow night's temperatures still pretty mild and warm across the southeast, 50s and 60s likely. Looking at a low of 36 in Minneapolis, Denver, Colorado, with a low temperature of 30 degrees.
Well, how about that? 94 degrees there showing up in parts of Texas. As Matt was noting, some critical wildfire conditions. You know, we dealt with some of those fires here locally last week. Check out this story about how one of those wildfires in Texas is threatening livestock.
When the Crittenburg complex fire began to spread rapidly on Sunday, the flames were heading toward the Bernard Beef Cattle Company.
The way the fire was going when we got the reports, we would have potentially had the fire on our land about 9 to 10 o'clock at night.
With such dry conditions, it was all hands on deck, moving cattle. But that's when the winds shifted and the Forest Services arrived.
Between those two things, it saved everything that was ours, but we were in the area of the mandatory evacuation.
From panic to realizing their lives and their livelihood were safe, thanks to those battling the flames.
All of the local fire departments spent days. I mean, some were working 26 and 30-hour shifts out there trying to save all of our land and livestock and houses.
The heroic effort of the first responders inspired those at the Bernard Beef Cattle Company to try and give back to them.
And they're putting their life at line. Some of them use their personal vehicles. So we just wanted to honor that commitment and say, we really appreciate you. and hope that we could get some donations from our 6,000 followers, and then we would match it.
They're taking donations to go directly to fire departments in Gatesville, Coryell, Oglesby, and Jonesboro. And for every dollar collected, they'll double it, matching it up to $5,000.
Or more. If we get a huge response, I would love to get a huge response and have to go back into our donations budget and figure that out.
Katie Opperly, KWTX News 10.
Well, tomorrow, risk for severe weather, and then Wednesday, another risk for some strong to severe storms. We'll talk about both threats, break down the timing and impacts in your first alert forecast, plus going beyond the 7-day as we continue right here. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra. Stay with us.
Every morning on Good Day Alabama, we know the news that matters the most to you is the news that hits closest to home.
And we know that to tell the best story means going to where the story is. That's why having more reporters in more places is so essential.
Giving you more local stories that impact your family, your school, and your safety.
On air, online, and on the app. That's the advantage of having the most reporters on your side. That's the advantage of Good Day Alabama.
I hear from people all the time with questions about health care, their insurance, and the safety of certain treatments. I'm Morgan Hightower, and I investigate these stories because if I were being taken advantage of, or if my family couldn't get the help they needed, I would want to know how to take action. That's why WBRC Fox 6 News investigates. We're on your side, getting answers, keeping you informed and safe. Contact us when you need a team on your side.
Get pinpoint locations down to your street level on the First Alert Weather app. You can download by searching WBRC in your app store. That's accuracy you can plan on.
I hear from people all the time having problems with their landlord or worry about being ripped off by a bad business. I'm Josh Gann, and I investigate stories like these because if I had questions about protecting my finances or how to save more money, I would want the best advice available. That's why WBRC Fox 6 News investigates. We're on your side getting answers, keeping you informed and safe. Contact us when you need a team on your side.
Get First Alert weather and breaking news. Follow us on Twitter. Search at WBRC News.
Get First Alert weather and breaking news. Follow us on Facebook. Search at WBRC News.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra, and a risk for strong storms tomorrow morning. Some heavy rainfall at rain chance around 90%. For a lot of the area, this is going to be a lot of rain. It's going to be a lot of rumbles. We haven't upgraded to First Alert Weather Day yet because those severe weather risks are going to be more localized to areas mainly further south. But this is going to be a lot of rain, some rumbles out there. If we do see that risk ramping up, we'll certainly upgrade to First Alert Weather Day. But at this point, we're still hanging on to the mention there of some strong thunderstorms and possible severe storms further south especially. And then Wednesday, there could be some development late in the day. And this weekend, hey, we got some frost in the forecast. Overnight lows back in the 30s. Could be some light freezing conditions there by early Sunday morning. A lot of folks asking us about planting, and that's one thing over the coming days right here on First Alert Weather Extra. We'll get more into that last frost, average last frost date, and talk cold weather impacts for the weekend. But here's what you need to know. So again, we're talking a couple of risks. We started talking about this last week. Looks like tomorrow morning from about 5 a.m. until 11 o'clock, a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and there will be some slowdowns out there. So give yourself some extra drive time early in the day. Big area of rain and storms. Some of those storms could be severe, and that does include the risk for tornado, some damaging wind gusts. So don't be surprised if you see some alerts early in the day, especially for those areas to the south. And then on Wednesday, that risk for severe weather starts to ramp up again from about 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Now, the Wednesday setup, the storm development is going to be more hit or miss, rather scattered. But the storms that do develop and can tap into that instability, we could have a tornado, some damaging winds, and especially some large hail with the way we got some dry air aloft coming in with that thing. That's a setup I've seen many times, especially where a lot of this is going to start developing central and eastern areas. But by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we start to see some improvements. That's a cold front that's going to be moving in there on Wednesday, bringing seeing some cooler weather conditions. Storm Prediction Center has the southern third of the state outlooked in a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk. That does include our areas here roughly from Demopolis to Greensboro, Centerville, Clanton, Rockford, and then into southern Clay County. Sylacauga, we're right there on that line. Fayetteville and Sylacauga further north, it's a level 2 out of 5. That includes Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston, even near Gadsden and Asheville here in St. Clair County. But you kind of get the picture. Further south you go, greater are chances of seeing a damaging wind threat and isolated tornado risk. But looking at Wednesday, an enhanced risk, especially for areas along and east of Interstate 65, and the timing for that about 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock. So you look at the forecast data, and this is just some of the forecast guidance. I mean, the radar may look a little bit differently from this tomorrow morning. Again, we're using math, we're using equations, current observations to try to pinpoint where we're going to see these storms tomorrow. And if we look at this, this shows us dealing with dry weather conditions tonight. You see the temperatures in the 50s tomorrow morning. There's 5 a.m. And the modeling shows the leading edge of this moving into West Alabama. But notice the temperature reflections, the temperature observations here. The forecast guidance is showing low 50s, even flirting with upper 40s to the north. So for a lot of us, cold, windy, rainy to start the day, that's going to have a big impact. Certainly with temperatures like that, we're not seeing the surface-based instability. But further south you go, there could be some areas in here where those temperatures surge into the 60s. We kind of circled that. There's going to be a little bubble in here out ahead of that main line, and that's where some of those storms may grow severe and even tornadic. That risk to the south, again, Clanton, Marion, Greensboro, those places in the southern Shelby County, and you can see by 10 o'clock that moves on through. And that's going to help kind of limit what we see later in the day. There could be a couple of isolated pop-ups. There's a look at 5 o'clock. And then let's get into the Wednesday setup. And here we go again. We've got a cold front that's going to be moving in. Look at the temperatures here. 84 in Birmingham, 85 here in Centerville. I mean, we're only 5 degrees off from hitting 90 degrees. That is going to be a very warm day, very unstable conditions on Wednesday. So we get that line that moves in. Could be some strong winds with any of these storms that develop. Notice there by 5 o'clock, the cooler and drier air starts moving in. So once that cool, dry air takes over, the severe risk will end. But Wednesday has a potential. We need to watch it late in the day, Wednesday night. You know, that may be, we may need to upgrade there, Jill. You know, we talked about possibility of maybe a first alert weather day. We're going to look at some more data, but Wednesday's one of those days where those storms could redevelop. And hopefully, it seems like Tuesday, someone said we're going to change it from Taco Tuesday to Tornado Tuesday because it seems like every Tuesday we have active weather around here. But what are we seeing as we go beyond the 7-day forecast?
Well, Wes, as we go beyond the 7-day, of course, we're always looking for any fronts and things like that, or any big changes with our winds and temperatures. So as we fast forward to the 12th of April, I'm seeing some indication as we get towards really the 15th, we may see our next storm system. So there's been hints at this for a while now that we could see around the 14th, 15th. And the data has been very accurate when we've been looking beyond the 7-day, kind of pinpointing the day to really keep a focus on. Unfortunately, for Easter, we may be dealing with thunderstorms. Of course, this is a ways out, but we could be dealing with, again, you get a little break, a week, and then here we go again, and things just flare back up again. And we're going to be talking about perhaps some active weather. Now, when we look around the 12th, all that instability is back across the plain states. It'll start to shift eastward as we approach the 14th, 15th. Not very impressive right now. That's good. I hope that continues that way, but we'll watch the 15th. And then as we head into actual Easter, we're seeing some of the instability matching up with the wind shear. So certainly, definitely need to watch out. Anywhere between the 15th and 17th west, we could see active weather returning, unfortunately.
It's amazing, Jill, when we take a look at some of the beyond the 7-day forecasts you put together, especially, it's amazing how well some of the long-term deterministic data has performed with several of these events. It actually pinpointed this event we've been telling you about now, actually for over a week for tomorrow. So check in with us often here as we look beyond the 7-day forecast, and we also share that information on the news. But in the morning, some big impacts for the morning drive. We're going to check in, talk more about that with Mickey after the break. Stay with us.
Getting live breaking news and local updates has never been easier. That's because we're on your side with the WBRC streaming app. Need updates between newscasts? You can catch up quick here. And when we're live on TV, we're live here too, giving you more ways to get caught up with everything happening where you live. Plus, exclusive videos from your First Alert weather team. It's easy to use and it's free. Just search WBRC on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV. WBRC Fox 6 News is on your side.
You've got enough to worry about every day. That's why the First Alert Weather Team is on your side, so you can plan with confidence and take the worry out of weather. With exclusive First Alert AccuTrack, we pinpoint storms before they arrive. And with Weather Every 6, you are always informed. Alabama's weather changes fast, but we're working even faster, updating and alerting you first. We know your plans are important. This is why we First Alert.
Every morning on Good Day Alabama, we're on your side, trying to get you where you're going safely. First Alert Traffic updates you on slowdowns and gives you alternate routes. Having more reporters covering the roads you drive on gives you even more info to help you know more about why it happened and when it will be cleared. On air, online, and on the app. That's the advantage of having the most reporters on your side. That's the advantage of Good Day Alabama.
I get calls and emails all the time from people wanting to know how cities, counties, and the state are spending their tax dollars. I'm Jennifer Horton, and I investigate how your tax dollars are being used because I don't want your money or mine wasted or fraudulently spent by politicians in power. That's why WBRC Fox 6 News investigates. We're on your side, following the paper trail, asking the tough questions, and giving you the facts. Contact us when you need a team on your side.
All right, welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. And as we check out the forecast for tomorrow morning, some heavy rain, possibility of some severe storms. We're going to be here watching it, including Mickey Ferguson. Mickey's got the out-the-door forecast and talking about some events coming up.
All right, let's take a look at what we should wear tomorrow. And I would definitely grab either the umbrella, the rain jacket, galoshes, because we are looking at a whole lot of rain, and it begins early in the morning, as we've been talking about. About 7 a.m., 58 degrees, but a good chance, a 90% chance of rain and thunderstorms. So if the kids typically go to the bus stop tomorrow morning, you might want to consider taking your kids to school, because we could have some strong, maybe even severe storms in our area by tomorrow morning. A good 90% chance of getting wet, but we could see some gusty winds and just torrential rainfall with this event. So we do have a UAB baseball forecast. It is tomorrow. UAB's taking on Auburn at Regions Field, so about a 40% chance of rain remaining at 6 p.m., but those percentages really taper off. So if you're going to cheer on UAB or Auburn at Regions Field, just take your rain gear just to be on the safe side. By the way, for this event, if you can safely take pictures of maybe some flooding or storm damage in your area, just scroll down to the bottom of our First Alert weather app and you can see where to submit photos, but please don't endanger yourself or get around any kind of power lines or structures that may fall. So safely submit your photos and you'll be basically part of our weather team.
All right, Mickey, and we're all going to be watching it tomorrow morning. Certainly check in Matt, Mickey, and Toy for a lot of updates. And speaking of weather photos, we'll leave you with this tonight. These are lenticular clouds. You don't see those often. That is over Huntsville this afternoon. Chanel Wimberly sharing these with us on the, actually shared on my Twitter account. They look like flying saucers. If you've ever seen the X-Files, I think one of those clouds showed up in the intro to the series, but many times those can be mistaken for UFOs. But saw those today in North Alabama. Kind of interesting, but we're going to have a lot of rain clouds, some storms possible in the morning. Again, that severe weather risk. Make sure you have the First Alert weather app. Also something to add to that out-the-door checklist as we keep you posted on WBRC Fox 6. I'll be back with updates coming up tonight. Join us at 9, 9:30, and 10.